Welcome back to some professional StarCraft 2. Let me introduce to you the Protoss player in the blue. The bottom right, not the Protoss we deserve, but the Protoss we need right now. It's the smiling assassin, herO. And on the other side, in the top left, in the red, a player with over a decade of professional StarCraft 2 under his belt and an affinity for lings and blings throughout. I give you DRG. Yes, he might despise the late game, but the mid game is where he specializes, which should be interesting stacking up against herO's aggressive Protoss. A best of 3 PvZ. And I expect something a little different from these two than what we're used to being able to see. If you like Protoss versus ZERG, let me rephrase. If you like the creativity that some players bring to the table, or if you like good games for the fans, let's cast the net a little wider. Well, it'd be awesome if you could like and subscribe. Jimmy, what are we at? 1,087 likes. If we get 1,087 likes on this video, yeah, we're getting there. Moving up. Number go up. If we get 1,087 likes, I'll cast another series. And I'll probably do it anyways. But thank you for tuning in. I hope you've had a good day so far. I hope it's about to get a little bit better. I'm always excited to see a DRG series. He has been somewhat inconsistent lately, as those mass zergling styles, when prepared for, can look uncomfortably weak. I don't know what uncomfortably weak, like, oh no, I can't, oh, not more zerglings. Ooh, well, he's from an earlier time, okay? He's from Heart of the Swarm. That is when DRG had much of its success, Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm. Those still at that top level. It is so hard to maintain the level of mechanic, like a Dark, a SC2 level for ZERG. A lot of people see the very tippy top and don't really realize the sheer APM, the sheer level of mechanics required to maintain such a presence as ZERG, I guess you could say. As most of the time, if you ever watch SC2 or Raynor or Dark in first person, they're not even looking at their units. It's going to a creep spread, injects, overlords, and by units I mean I guess their main army. It's making sure everything's going every which way to maintain that presence that feels so intimidating and almost oppressive for Protoss and Terran especially. Well, first Oracle sliding in. The Queens will strongly suggest it remove itself from the premises. But he's been, I don't know how many creep tumors. Okay, now I do. 2 creep tumors sniped so far. Slowing it down a bit in the early game. herO going with the cookie cutter. Now this is the herO build. We got Oracles into Blink with +1. Setting up a gateway wall over at the third as well. Looks like he's gonna wall off the entire thing here. Like, does that actually wall with the mineral patch? Yeah, oh wow. Showtime would be proud. Doing the best impression of him here. I've never seen anyone wall quite like that, but I think there's enough space for a cannon or two behind in a pretty good position. If you're pretty sure your opponent... Okay, well, the pylon isn't close enough. It is a non-super pylon, or a normie pylon, as no one calls it. It does not warp in as quickly, but uncontested, the pylon should be alright. Alright, 6 more gates finishing. Bringing them up to 8. Full 3 base production. No Templar Archives, no Dark Shrine quite yet. I imagine Charge is going to be next on the agenda. After the blink completes, Lair for DRG, also getting his 4th base. Roach speed, Baneling speed. Does he already have Overlord speed? Obviously, Zergling speed. Getting closer and overwhelming your opponent's units is what ZERG is all about, and DRG understands that, of course. Surrounding and canceling the Nexus at the 4th. Stalkers just don't put out enough damage quickly enough to deal with that. Oracles slide in. Get a couple kills at the 4th. Working into the natural. Spore Crawler well positioned. Snipes off one Oracle. Still sliding by for more. It does really feel like sliding with the acceleration of the Oracle there. 9 drones down, but DRG will replace them essentially immediately. We've got +2 weapons and +1. So herO going for that mass gateway style. Whereas DRG, medium on the field, is going to have +2 melee attack, which allows banelings to one-shot probes. Significant damage increase in general. As well as adding a bunch of roaches on. So it's going to be Ravagerling Baneling, or maybe just Roachling Baneling. A mass unit style to deal with heroes. War Prism came by the Queens. Queens almost took it out, but they in turn will be blunked upon by the Stalkers. Infestation Pit is on the way. The Roaches are matching the Blink Stalkers on the field. DRG spamming units in the production tab. The Zerglings will force a warping back at home, taking a little wind out of the sails of this push. But I don't think herO... This is herO controlling DRG's economy. This isn't herO trying to win the game right now. He's still building 4 probes at a time. He's halfway through another set of upgrades, including charge. He's got 3 more gates in production. herO right now is just keeping DRG under control. Keeping the Zerg population down to size. And now, is he successful at it? We're gonna find out, because it doesn't take too long to realize you've bitten off more than you can possibly chew. And you can't really chew anything as Protoss, because as Protoss you don't have a mouth. Roaches, Ravagers, Lings and Banes on the chase, but the Blink Stalkers plus the Warp Prism are just too much mobility off a creep for the Zergs to chase into. Infestation Pit is done. Hive is on the way, but no indications of any other tech aside from maybe adrenal glands and Viper so far. No Hydroden. Oh my god, herO. He built the gates on the wrong side. The gates don't wall anything except his probes in. He loses 14. Why are the gates over here, herO? You're a big fan of letting Zerglings and Banelings into his base. He did such a great job with the gates at the 3rd, but he really dropped the ball there at the 4th. We'll look for some vengeance. He did lose a significant number of probes. Not a critical number, but it slows down the economy, the tech progression. And DRG has a real opportunity to overwhelm this gateway-based army on the field. Lurker Den on the way for DRG. Not going to stick with just the Zerglings, but still pretty far off. No adrenal glands is actually quite surprising here, as that is probably it is the highest damage upgrade for Zerglings in the game. Another round of Banelings roll in. These ones have +2 done, and the probes didn't have long to figure that out. Another dozen go down. War Prism taken out by the Spores. Zealots warped into the main, though, and DRG doesn't have quite enough to deal with it. Lurker Den spotted. herO should eventually be cleaned up here, but it's not a particularly fun fight for the Zerglings. A few Banelings would be very helpful. He just goes straight for the Lurker Den. He may very well get it. Resetting the tech there for a bit. And now it'll be that much longer for herO to work against him. I was wondering where I was going with that. Without the Lurkers, the gateway units are that much more effective. Eventually, when herO gets to +3, +2, he has 5 base economy. Zerglings, Roaches, Ravagers, probably not going to cut it. Though adrenal glands will buy them a little more time on the field. There's a reason why when you see Lurkers, when they go low, you go as high as possible. Sky Toss is usually the answer. Now, herO can easily work around the edges with these very efficient gateway units. But DRG's at 190 supply. Oh, Archons on the field. Something a little more that the Zerglings just simply can't easily deal with. It's only +2 attack. It's only attack upgrades for DRG, which I feel like describes him pretty well. Ravagerling Bane. Still, he's maxed out now. The Lurker Den is done. Lurker range on the way. Adrenal glands only 2/3 of the way there. Hydra speed done, but I don't think any Hydras in the field yet. herO, he's not maxed out. He actually has 86 probes. So when he maxes out, he's going to have less army supply than DRG. I don't think he's going to be too concerned about that. But DRG actually adding on all those Hive Tech upgrades once again, still has really yet to use them. Or with no lurkers, and only... He doesn't have that many Zerglings? He has 98 Zerglings. He has a lot of... Okay. He has a few Zerglings. Now, the Zealots are slicing through many of them, but the Baneling's helping out. Yeah, he loses like 50 Zerglings. He says, okay, I'll build 50 more. Not a single Hydra. There's a good chance DRG forgot he was going to go lurkers and saw his Zerglings dying and, you know, got appropriately angry. Finds the Archons, kind of caught out here. The Stalkers blinked away from them. The Archons will evaporate under the firepower of the Roachling. Disruptors on the way. 6 Hydralisks in the production tab. So DRG, I think, has finally remembered about his lurkers. The Zealots moving up to intercept the Zerglings. And +3/+2 is complete. So a significant and difficult to dislodge set of Zealots there. Almost maximum upgrades. Shields do a bit, but the Zealots only have 50 shields to 100 HP. So definitely not a critical one. And there's the +1 air weapons. Kind of expecting a need for an air switch is herO. Anticipating it. There's also gravitic boosters. Over observer speed to catch up to things like the lurkers. And finally, lurkers in production. Nidus network started as well. You see where DRG wants to go with that. Ideally where herO does not. Adaptive Talons is alongside +2 ranged as herO continues to chase down the Ravager Zergling army, but another clutch of Zerglings up towards the north will shred another base and force the cancel and work their way. That's going to force a recall from herO. And recalling, like, some Stalkers and Disruptors, that's not going to make the difference as the Banelings roll in, obliterating the probes. 15 more down, fires up a broadside of Disruptors that slams directly into DRG. But DRG loses Roaches and Lings, things easily replaced. herO loses probes, Stalkers, and Disruptors, which, not so much. In the last 2 minutes, DRG has lost 200 Zerglings, which, you know, is about right. I saw some consumes on the battle report there, which was, they weren't part of the fight, but oh, the Disruptors laying into the lurkers. Nidus from the north. Observers spotting out the lurkers. He blunks forward into them, gets a couple, but he blunked in. He can't blunk out. The Zerglings looking for the wraparound. They get many of the Stalkers. The Disruptors have been abandoned on the field. He's looking for a shot. He finds one, but he hits some Stalkers as well. DRG drawing the Disruptor fire, but still herO presses forward. He still has enough economy to sustain. He still has enough Disruptors to threaten the lurkers. Right up until the Vipers yank every single Disruptor. Get over here. Right up to the high ground. And with no Ruptors, well, he still has an army that can threaten. But it's far too dangerous to challenge the Vipers and potentially more lurkers on the field. Groovy spawns done. And now finally the Zerglings will find the wall at the third. And wow, they really rip apart those buildings. Enough will be warped in to discourage the Lings, but... Wow, Adrenal Glands +3 Lings. Not a single armor upgrade in sight for DRG. Lurker shredding over near the 4th or 5th base. Some into the main as well. Another hatch gets taken out. Lurker's looking for an opportunity. Zergling, you came to the wrong neighborhood. The Zerglings will surround and rip apart the Zealots. The DTs, they may be cloaked, but that doesn't mean they can see underground. Their Lurkers hitting 2 out of 5 bases. herO's still at 72 probes, trying to deal with these Lurkers. He didn't have any vision of the Nidus. There's still technically a Nidus in the main. The Stalkers are no match for these Zerglings, but the DTs are uncontested, so we'll eventually clean it up. Gonna kill a few more Stalkers. 11 probes have gone down in the last, who knows, minute or so. More Lurkers into the main. He didn't deal with the source of the problem. Well, technically, the source of the problem was the fact that DRG has an economy and a spawning pool back at home, and not that there's a Nidus in his main. But you know what I meant. The Nidus Keep sending in units. The DTs are trying to fight the Zerglings, but the Zerglings are simply ignoring them. He depowers more. He's going for whatever he could get. Half the Zerglings are dead to DTs, but still a dozen probes down. herO starting to bleed out. His army's scrambling every which way, but in a battle, in a race against the Zerg, you're almost always going to lose. A lull in the action. Overall, well, hero's actually lost 1,000 more gas and a little under 1,000 more minerals, which is remarkably good for Zerg, especially this Zergling. How many Zerglings? 500 Zerglings down. I really thought it'd be more. The Banelings, when they attack things like probes, they don't show up on the units lost, but I can guarantee you it's more than 11. It's just that so many of the Banelings have found a target that they weren't lost, they were used, and that's different. herO still trying to put things together, but he's scrambling back and forth. Still no vision in his own main, which DRG continually exploiting as the lurkers shred another gate. There are 100 Zerglings on the field. That number about to dip slightly, but they're all over the place right now. Into the 2 o'clock base, maybe 2:15. Disruptor flings wide. Disruptor's a very dangerous unit against Zergling. herO supply blocked. Does he have Storm? He has Templar. I guess he wants to deal with the feedbacks or the Vipers with feedback. But now hero's drawn into a lopsided base trade where he's already lost so much at home. All DRG has to do is focus on defending. Though a lot of his lurkers caught morphing there. Oh no, the Observer flies into a spore. He still has one more. The Viper's in position. He spots the Templar. A blinding cloud. Beautiful. Jostles the Archons in. Broadside of Disruptors. Takes out the first wave of the lurkers. But wait, there's more. And the Zerglings are eviscerating the economy back at home. 40 probes. He's down to 7. The next eye. To shreds, I say. The Banelings roll in. The Disruptors can't find anything. And DRG overwhelms herO. Just in a ridiculous amount of 600 Zerglings in under 20 minutes lost. There are still probably 100 or so on the field. Yep. DRG makes it just unable. herO unable to ever put a coherent attack together in the later game. He even started, I remind you, he started +1 air, which I think is truly where he wanted to go with it. But he never found the breathing room. As DRG just waiting for the moment he moves out, 100 Zerglings move in. So very true to form in game 1. But that's why we play more than one at a time. Babylon. DRG. It wasn't easy. I wouldn't say it's particularly decisive, but herO just never found that angle of attack. That was a surprisingly, I guess not surprisingly, but a incredibly macro-oriented build from herO. Going for 4 or 5 bases, 80-something probes. Just trying to outlast DRG. Because he does, you could see there, he gets kind of stuck. Or willingly stuck. In that mid-game style. But I think the key is he added on the hive tech early on. Like the things that buff Zerglings. Adrenal glands, Vipers. Having a few lurkers. Honestly, lurkers, the easiest hive tech to reach for. Because you can already have the Hydra Den. You don't have to kind of start from scratch once the hive finishes. Though he kind of did, as the lurkers were well after the hive finished. My favorite part, I think, is DRG just refusing to research armor upgrades. I'm quite confident in saying that DRG had plenty of money at most points in the game to get, like, +1 carapace. But no. Defense is for nerds. Alright, he's not on the fence about what he wants to do. And if he was on a fence, he would be off it. Offense. That's what I'm talking about. More Zerglings. More Banelings. In that order. Beautifully done. Very fun to watch. Alright, herO. What now? It's hard to pinpoint what part went wrong, really. It just... death by 1,000 Zerglings. Quite literally. He never really committed to an attempt. Make Colossi? Is that? I know I sound like a Twitch chat grandmaster. As Colossi are vulnerable to many of the same things Disruptors are. The Vipers, the Lurkers, just their reliance on having a gateway army surrounding them. They, especially against the mass roach style, the Colossi feel incredibly brittle. But the Disruptors are also essentially like sometimes like pulling a hand grenade in your own house. You're hoping it hits more of them than you, but sometimes... Two queens. Match the Oracle. The Oracle astutely ignores them. Though, will be a little worse for the wear. Already in the orange. Adepts shading in. Looking for another opportunity. The Zerglings will let them know they're not wanted here. Enough Zerglings to severely discourage. And of course, there are going to be the queens as well. So... Oracles, just looking around, just here to watch. All right, and this, honestly, this is why the Stargate is so ubiquitous in Protoss versus ZERG. It's why it's 70 to 85% of the time the choice, especially of your macro Protoss. Because if you don't have that sort of vision, if you're not able to control the ZERG build to some extent, you end up playing in the dark or against dark, and both are terrible. If you do go for the early Adept Glaives, for example, you end up with... You're just much of the time gambling. They haven't already pre-countered it. So the Oracle gives you scouting and allows you to kind of control the direction of the Zerg build. By forcing a certain amount of queens and spores. Now, this is also kind of it. The Adepts, alright. The Adept, you know, I wasn't gonna, I assumed they would just die. But then they just kind of killed all the Zerglings, so... And they're still good, this is still happening. Okay, this was supposed to be over so I could continue my meta point. But instead, the Adepts waltz in, killing 18 Zerglings and 5 drones between them and the Oracles. DRG now, even on workers. And he just started a lair. He's got +1 melee attack on the way. The stasis gonna be drawn out by a single drone, but a bit of lost mining time there. Oh, but wait, there's more. All right. And oh no, you know, this is actually doing a great job. That it's not insignificant. Yeah, wow. There hasn't been a significant change in the worker count in the last 30 seconds or so. But herO has stopped DRG from mining for 15-30 seconds, even without the stasis. The amount of time lost is very noticeable. All right, sending the ZERG income market into a panic there for a moment. Get back to work, drones. No work breaks. But there's a stasis, which is like a Protoss mandated work break. Good point. All right, 15-second work break. We will deal with the stasis, but only for efficiency's sake. Well, those stalkers certainly... I don't know what you're doing out there, but you ain't going home again. Don't know how those... There's more stalkers. Do they have blink? Yes. They must have blinked at exactly the wrong time. Well, here comes herO. Trying to follow up that early pressure. The Zerglings not in position to deal with this. They're mostly across the map. Whoa, whoa, whoa! As the Zergling count is 30 to 15 Stalkers. There's still the Oracles. He finds the Queens. Transfuse eats another volley. The Queen's absorbing a lot of the potential damage here. Oracle in hold position. And ends up recalling. Which, good to get out before you get overwhelmed. But, oh, another one! Ah, yes, here we are again. The productivity lost. Okay. We're going to be looking at the Zerg income this quarter and just realize that overall the efficiency of only having Queens with anti-air is most certainly not ideal for maximum yields. But then we look at the cost of giving Queens back their ability to fly, and that's just completely prohibitive. So, no is the answer, Brenda. No. No. The Zerglings are in herO's base. Now, there are plenty of Stalkers that all came back to deal with this, but they just broke through the Adept. herO still wondering about that order for a door that he put in 10 years ago. But if Zerg can't have flying Queens, then Protoss can't have doors. And the Terrans just counting their minerals from the mules in the background, chuckling. Well, Blink Stalker Oracle. That's a lot of Stalkers as well. 24 Stalkers. There's not that many units on the field. DRG has not had much opportunity to actually produce. Corrosive Bile draws out a stasis, gets another one. Are there any more? I don't believe so. A Ravager Lingbane, still enough to drive it back, but up to the north side. The charge lots, just a lot to deal with. The Spore Crawler really channeling the charge lots into some choke points here. But they are hardy creatures, and the Roaches have no upgrades. It's +2/+1 versus 0/0 Roaches. DRG starts +1 ranged attack, probably realizing this is not going very well. Hive is on the way. How many Zerglings on the field? 30. Only a handful of Banes. The Stalker's still trading out. herO, not only a 4th, but a 5th base on the way. His 4th base already mining comfortably. And he really got a jump on this game, I think, with the Stasis Wards. Just able to undercut DRG's economy for long enough. He set up his Blink Stalker timing to continue to keep control of the situation, and now here we are. With DRG, he still has the supply, but the upgrades are pretty mediocre. The Stasis Wards are zoning everything out. The War Prism gets taken out of the main. The Hive will complete. And the Roach Ling, like, DRG's still maxed out. But herO doesn't seem to be getting pushed back in any meaningful way. DRG has been unable to throw together any counterattacks. He's been unable to really push back on even the aggressive expansions here of herO. Another stasis. Just constant stasis after stasis, forcing DRG to micro away. But those units are not killed in stasis. In fact, they're protected from it. A very disjointed fight here, though, as the Blink Stalkers are able to concentrate on just the Zerglings. The Roaches tapping on the Nexus, and that means herO will hold. DRG's production has been incredibly high, but unable to make meaningful progress. herO warping in. He's got 11 gateways, so that many Zealots at a time. The Banelings looking to break through. It's just +2 melee up against 2/2 Zealots. That's a very dangerous game he's playing against these Banelings morphing, but the Zerglings trying to fight the Zealots, but there are just too many of them. A bunch of Roaches and Lings on the left flank. The Oracles, 4 so far, and Moracles in production. herO just adding on the ability, just constant stasis to zone out the army. And then, of course, if DRG gets too big for his britches, comes across the map, he can just light up the pulsar beams and fight him directly. But the Zergling count has grown. He's up to 70. Hydra's in the production tab. DRG is bleeding right now, but he's not dead yet. The Lurker Den is done. Lurker range is on the way. Adrenal gland's about to complete. So DRG about to get a bit of a power spike here. And he's been holding, he's been still near 200 supply. It's just he had some of the worst 200 supply you could possibly have. Roaches are just not a supply efficient unit. They're cheap and easy to get, but they are not something that's going to carry you into the late game. So now finally, he's added some lurkers on. A lot of immortals are caught here. Will he be able to kill any of them? Corrosive Bile, he gets one. Another immortal, take it out. Shield battery overcharge, part of the fight here. The huge Protoss army on the way across will outflank DRG and ends up losing a bunch of his roaches and ravagers. The immortals quite helpful against lurkers, but there's just not that many lurkers out there right now. DRG losing the brunt of his army in that overwhelming Zergling count. He just blanks in on top of lurkers. A dangerous game, but DRG might not have enough to drive him back. The Stalker count is dwindling, but the Oracle is mostly unchallenged in the air, burning through yet another lurker. There are only 2 left. Oh, DRG jumped the gun a bit with his attack and got outflanked by the sheer number of herO's units. herO has no real splash damage here. It's so many gateways. But DRG is he's been doing a incredible job of holding on, but he lost that critical mass. And now the lurkers are, it feels like, only buying time. The Zerglots, or the Zealotlings, not Zerglots, are overwhelming. The Stalkers are sidestepping the lurkers. DRG down to 60 drones, and is forced to tap out. GG. A solid victory for herO. He turns it around. He realizes keeping control of the economy is the key to victory. And DRG unable to get in a position to do the counterattacks, to overwhelm with the lurkers, to throw a Nidus Swarm into the main. None of that happened because herO was able to keep such control of the economy, to whittle down the Zerg and control those quarterly outputs for long enough to actually build a sizable army. Which takes us to match point. Game 3. DRG versus herO. Honestly, I expected DRG to show some fun gameplay, but I kind of expected herO to run away with it. DRG's been keeping up with him. I'm very happy about that, but will he mix it up here on Neil? I'm also surprised this slipped through the veto process and became our 3rd map, because it's a best of 3, so this feels like a very vetoed map. Maybe it's more of a veto against Terran, but well, DRG takes his 3rd. Probe blocked the natural, as it so often does. I want to point out herO is using the Zest portrait. We didn't show the load screen, but I forget what DRG is using. I think it might just be the starter portrait, but herO is using the Zest WCS portrait. So we miss you, Zest. And so does herO. I'm sure inspired for many years by him and against him. I'm always amused when players... Oh, wait, no. I remember now. He's using the Serral portrait, DRG. Yeah. I kind of zoned out during the load screen. But I was so entertained by the Zest portrait, I didn't even notice one of the Serral ones, of which he has several, of course. I do enjoy when players put players that they look up to. Like TY puts the... Or are friends with. Like TY uses the special portrait. Solar uses the dark portrait. Dark uses the dark portrait. Everybody has a player that they love, and are entertained by, or just, you know, banter. So, of course, the other players can see it as well. Phoenix. Wow, that's a rare Pokemon. Been a while. Yes, it is noticeable and notable. Yes, notable. Both things. Phoenix first. Very interesting. It's been a while since we saw the Phoenix first place. Protoss have just given up on denying scouting info from ZERGs in favor of getting their own by having more oracles, for the most part. That is the much more common play. So the Phoenix first definitely rings some very, like, not loud, not dramatic, but definitely rings some alarm bells, I think, if you're DRG. Like, why a Phoenix, though? What are you hiding? And there are two more, and he uses it to pick up one of the queens. The other two, dodges into some spores and an extractor there, but he does add two more gases at the natural almost immediately. The Twilight, the Forge, as well on the way, as alongside a Robo. And it's only going to be one Oracle? Two in total. Not the usual three here. DRG looking to counter this by simply just building as many drones as possible and not really caring about the Oracles. Phoenix a bit into goes for the Stasis. Alright, draws it out. Here we go again. The Stasis, though. Like, the indirect economic damage. The loss of productivity. Again. Super noticeable. Alright, you're gonna have to explain that one to your supervisor. Like, what happened there? Well, if we had continued working, approximately one half of us would have been not working anyways. I don't think so. I don't... It is something a little more dramatic. Templar Archives. I was wondering, even... Okay, alright, okay. Templar Archives, and a Robo Bay, and charge +1. Well, the charge makes sense over blank, because that would, even for getting the guess that early, that's way too far. But it seems like herO is just skipping entirely that Blinkstalker phase of the game in favor... I have to imagine that's for Colossi this early. Colossi and Archons. I would be very surprised if we see Storm, though he does have the gas for it. Because that's just such a fragile army, such a brittle army to go for Storm and for Robo Bay. But, yeah, he warps in. The Templar, it's going to be Archon drop. Robo Bay is done. Revelation News. Disruptors on the way. Gravitic Drive for the Prism. So, herO getting really fancy schmancy here in Game 3. As he reaches for essentially every branch of the tech tree. DRG, on the other hand, 77 drones. Doing plenty of roaches. Once again on that attack upgrade kick. Oh. Warp Prism. Thinking about diving in. Thought twice about it. Gonna hang outside for now. No matter what's in there, DRG is pretty confident that half a dozen queens and a bunch of roach lane can handle it. He is correct. Even if he doesn't know exactly what he's dealing with yet. Yeah, the Archons pop out, which I'm sure came as a slight surprise, but not a particularly concerning one. Though he does realize, I think, he should. Or Prism speed is done. So, gravitic drive has completed. Fleet beacon on the way. herO is determined to speed run the tech tree. He's getting everything. He's got a Robo Bay, a Templar Archives. He doesn't have a Dark Shrine, but we are 8 minutes in, and he's going to essentially complete the tech tree. Where DRG is still, this would be considered a rather quick hive. But not a rush to it, but a rather quick one here at 8 minutes. Has not been too much out on the field. DRG happy to sit back and macro up. He's got the Ridge of Espine in the center, but so does herO here. Mine's twice as fast. Or at least returns it. It's effectively twice as fast. More gates on the way. 2 carriers in the production tab. So, we'll see how ready DRG is for this. 2 carriers. Wow, okay. herO just... He's going to have access to pretty much everything. The question will be, can he survive the first wave of DRG's attack? Because if so, he's in prime position to take the series. But DRG has been a lot more focused when it comes to his build, his style, his unit composition. He hasn't gone for the shrubbery style of a little bit of everything, but instead has padded out that mid-game army. Going to have +2 melee. He's already got roaches with speed, banelings with speed, and of course, zerglings with speed. Now, the carriers are completely unchallenged. 2 carriers are a problem. 4 carriers are a disaster. The 2 carriers are not going to be enough to turn around an army. The 4 is when the lack of anti-air becomes incredibly clear. The damage output is just too much. DRG looking for an opportunity. The Bone Trench rocks were taken down by herO. And he's able to cut off that potential attack point, at least for now. The Archons are wandering around. The Banelings roll into a Zealot campaign or cinematic style. Banelings rolling in, flings out a volley from the Ruptors. Hits friendlies as well, but overall the Disruptors blunting the attack. The Carriers starting to chew into the Roaches here. They do a +1 done. Gets another Ruptor. Most of the Archons still alive. And DRG starts 70 Zerglings and Aspire. Clearly not ready for this. herO will bounce back. I think a decisive victory. Oh yeah, herO destroying almost twice as many minerals and over twice as much gas. And now DRG is far behind in tech. He does not have. He's just spamming units to buy time for the Spire. But by the time the Spire is online, he goes for something like, if he goes for Corruptors, there's already so many Archons on the field. He can warp in dozens of Stalkers if he'd like as well. herO has so many options open to him. DRG. Now, I was saying, like, herO figured out, you gotta limit DRG, you gotta keep him busy. Well, it appears you gotta keep herO busy. Because herO will just get everything. Ultralisk Cavern is certainly a bold choice in this scenario from DRG. He now has... The Spire's about to finish. What are we gonna see? And 10 more Banelings on the way. This army moving up. Disruptors do connect. The Carriers have arrived. There's no anti-air in production. DRG! It's going to be DRGG, Dr. GG, that is, to you, very soon. If he has no... He's just not building any Corruptors. Or mute, or nothing. He's just got nothing. Oh, my. Well, after 2 close games, it looks like herO may have just taken this as a science victory. As 9 Corruptors are not going to be remotely enough. And even if these carriers disappeared off the field right now somehow... I'm not convinced that would be enough to turn this around. Carriers will finally be challenged by the Corruptors. The Zerglings actually killed a base, and will have +3 melee momentarily. Corruptors pop out unupgraded against +2 air weapons carriers. which easily wiped them out of the sky in low numbers. Doesn't want to be overwhelmed, recalls back. And that will keep the base protected. herO, I guess at this point the only mistake you could make is playing too careful. But he's ground out such a lead here. The carriers have carved their way through the center, killed 2 hatcheries, knocked DRG all the way back down to 150 supply or so. Forced corruptors out, which means that herO, his ground army, becomes great again. And Void Rays with Flux Veins finally find a place. As DRG simply can't afford the counters to these things, nor do I think he'd reach for them quickly. Vipers, Infestors, Neuroparasite, Hydralisk, I almost said Darkswarm, sorry. Darkswarm, aka Microbial Shroud, or whenever Dark plays. An Ultralisk is certainly, definitely something you can build. Ultralisks have yet to learn how to fly. Now, wouldn't that be terrifying? And here come the Corruptors. The Zerglings zoning out the Archons underneath. I don't know how many, but not nearly enough. Dr. GG taps it out. herO, with a technical victory in Game 3, takes the series. I don't think it really, that game, and that's part of why I wondered why I got through the veto process this map. It just becomes very difficult to attack into the first 4 bases or so. And DRG's style is not well suited to that. But, still, some great games from DRG and also Game 3. But herO comes out as the better rounded player and shows why he's the #1 Protoss. Good, solid, fun series, and I want to see more DRG as well. So if you enjoyed, make sure to smash the like button or gently caress it. I don't, you know what? I'd say I could tell which, but whatever gets you going. Subscribe if you've made it this far and you're listening to it and you aren't zoning out. Be awesome if you could subscribe if you haven't yet. Get in on the first 200,000. That's the goal for us for the end of the year because it's a nice round number. It'd be cool. And I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. See, I hope I made your day a little bit better. Good luck, have fun. Stay chill.